Okay, the guy we were just working with there basically kicked us out of his shop. Then he punched the taxi driver in the face. Uyuni, Bolivia. We are here at the famous train cemetery. This is a place I've seen many pictures on Instagram. All right, we made it to the Salar de Uyuni. Bet you get stuck really good, really fast. We just got a message that they got their truck stuck. Maybe we can go and help them. We are going to Bolivia right now. Okay, I might need to back up a few steps. We are still in Peru, but we are on our way to Bolivia. One of our biggest hurdles through Bolivia is going to be fuel. And it's not good fuel, bad fuel, any of that debate. It is just finding diesel at all. They've had diesel shortages. So fuel in Bolivia is very inexpensive for Bolivians because it's highly subsidized by the country. That sounds like a good thing, except they don't want foreigners coming in and buying up their subsidized fuel. So there's a local rate and a foreigner rate. Now we don't mind paying the foreigner rate. It's going to be similar, I think, to about what it's been in Peru. That's not a problem. But they do have to fill out some paperwork, and it's a little bit of an extra hassle for the attendants at the gas station to fill it out. And some of them will just flat deny selling foreigners fuel. So this could be a problem for us. We're hearing mixed things from friends and other travelers who are in Bolivia currently. It sounds like it's just more of an inconvenience than a showstopper. So we're just gonna have to work within the system, figure out our own ways to find diesel. So we are at our last gas station here in Peru. We are topping off our Agile Off-Road reserve tank in the back that holds 28 gallons. We're topping off our stock tank, and we are gonna go into Bolivia completely full so we can get the most range we can. And once we get there, we are gonna try to fill up often. Having this reserve tank is gonna be critical to get us across Bolivia, at least with any peace of mind. All right, so we're about to fill up, and then we're heading to the border. Well, we officially crossed the border into Bolivia, but we aren't stamped in, and our vehicle isn't checked in yet with a temporary import permit. So here we go. We got one bad hip, one bad ankle.
I was just thinking that.
I don't know what my next ailment's gonna be, but I am watching out. Bolivia is the only country in our whole travels on the Pan Am where we're gonna need to get an official visa. Right next to the immigration office, there's a little store here, and they do passport photos because we need 2 passport photos to give to them to get our visa. Okay, the guy we were just working with there basically kicked us out of his shop. He wanted to go to lunch. He didn't want to deal with the gringos who were having a hard time printing out our forms. Now he has a whole setup there where we can email him things and he would print them out. But boy, he was very short-tempered and didn't want to take the time to help us at all. So he's saying now for us to go to Peru and we can get copies made there. All right, we're over here on the Peru side. We've gotten our documents that we needed. This is our visa copies, our vehicle registration or our title. What else? We have to have an itinerary. We have to show proof of our bank statement that we have enough money to sustain ourselves while we're in Peru. And there might be something else. 2 passport photos, which the grumpy guy over on the Bolivian side did. We have gone to this copy shop here, and there is a young lady here who is very helpful, very friendly, and helping us navigate this, and we are so grateful. But we're back in Peru now, so now we got to go back over into Bolivia, turn in all this paperwork, and hopefully we get our visas and we continue on into Bolivia.
Gracias.
Gracias. Adios. This is all a day of fun and games on the shores of Lake Titicaca, on the border of Peru and Bolivia. The gateway to Bolivia. We are back to Bolivia. Hopefully we have all of our paperwork sorted out and they will give us a visa. All right, I just got my visa. Takes up a whole page of my passport, but I am in to Bolivia. Next step is to get the vans checked in with their temporary import permits, and we're going to do this right next door at the aduana office. We did it! We're into Bolivia. We got the Revel imported, and we are set for 90 days. We're not going to need that much. All right, let's go to Bolivia for real. We've found a beautiful camp here right on the edge of Lake Titicaca. It's a free, just little pull-out that was in Overlander. It is going to be perfect for tonight. It is our first morning in Bolivia, and we are parked high above Lake Titicaca. This was a wonderful campsite. We have just a short ways to go, and we are about to get on what might be one of the most exciting ferries of the whole trip. And you know me, I love ferries. So let's go check it out. All right, we're on the ferry. This could be one of the most ricketiest ferries we've seen. It is literally just boards that aren't even screwed down. They're just laying on this deck of sorts. I don't even know what to call it. Okay, we made it across. It was our first Bolivian ferry. It could be our only Bolivian ferry. And I think we got our money's worth out of this one. And you know, it's all fun when it's an adventure and nothing bad happens. We didn't sink, we didn't lose our van, but I think there was potential for that. So we're happy to be on the other side. Now we're just a short jaunt from La Paz, and we're gonna head over that way. We are in bad need of groceries. We haven't seen a grocery store in about a week. And this was our hurdle for the day, was getting across this sketchy ferry. So this ferry ride cost us 60 Bolivianos, that's the Bolivian currency. And now we can check crossing Lake Titicaca by Sketchy ferry off our bucket list. All right, let's continue on with the adventure. We gotta go southbound. right, so a police officer just came up and told us that Titicaca is named Titties for Bolivia and Caca for Peru. I don't know, that's what he said. At least it's something entertaining while we're sitting here in complete, utter chaos, gridlock traffic in La Paz. Google took us what looked like it was just going to be a nice little windy road, and it was at first, and then it turned into an eroded mess. It looked like when it rains, a river just runs down this road. It was just cobbles and sand and dirt. We were in four-wheel low, and all four wheels are spinning while we're trying to go up this thing, and we're going over massive humps and dips. And on top of that, there's big trucks coming down it. And there's nowhere to pass because the shoulders are 5 foot deep eroded trenches. So, wow, we thought Peru was rough, but we'll see what Bolivia has in store for us. Well, we made it to the highway here. This is Highway 1, Bolivian 1. So there are trucks parked here on the side of the road as far as we can see. We're seeing large lines like this for all the gas stations, and it's common here that if you get gas, like it could take at least an hour, but this line I'm seeing here, if this is for the gas station, this could take days. We don't know. We're just happy that we are moving, and we're trying to kind of get out of La Paz and further south.
And it's a gas station. Holy cow, that was a long
Look at that, there's the gas station. All those trucks are waiting there for gas, or diesel to be more specific. This is our first time trying to get fuel in Bolivia, and we have learned a few things already. We have a lot more to learn, so bear with us as we figure this out in this video and future videos. But we are in a very long line here to get into a gas station. One side has cars, one side over here has trucks. Jorge went up there and asked the attendant, do they sell to foreigners? Because Bolivia's gas and diesel is very subsidized by the government, and it's restricted in them selling to foreigners. And if they do sell to foreigners, we pay a higher rate because fuel is actually very cheap here. But we're gonna pay about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 times what the Bolivians pay. And we're fine with that. That's still actually a very comparable to what we've been paying in Peru and some of the other places. We should be able to get fuel at the government-run fuel stations. Now there's the government ones and then there's private ones. And the government ones are mandated that they actually have to sell fuel to foreigners, whereas the private ones can sell it to foreigners, but there's a little bit of a hassle there with them filling out additional paperwork. And so a lot of times the attendants don't want to put up with that, and they don't want to fill out the extra paperwork. So they just tell you that they can't sell you fuel. But we're keeping an eye on the clock. We're going to see how long it takes us this time to get fuel. And you guys are going to get the time warp version of our wait for fuel. So as you guys can see behind me, the fuel line goes quite a ways to the station that's down there. And then it's another, I don't know, 30 cars behind us. And those are just people who have lined up in the last 10 minutes. All right, so I just walked up to the front of the line just to see what was going on, and it is slowly moving through. This shouldn't take too long. I mean, by US standards, this would be highly abnormal. You know, we're just under the mindset that this is part of our Bolivia experience, is gonna be figuring out fuel and waiting in fuel lines, and that's part of the adventure. There are armed police officers or soldiers up here I could see, and I think they're just trying to keep it orderly because, you know, when there are shortages, you know, people start acting crazy. All right, it's been about 35 minutes and we are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 cars from the station now. It is slowly moving up. We can't tell exactly what's going on. There's these taxis that keep cutting around everybody, and one of the guys that's in front of us got out of the car, approached one of the taxis. You could see they were having some heated words. Then he punched the taxi driver in the face and then went back, got in his car, and the taxi driver went on and got fuel. So we don't know what to think of this. We don't quite know what's going on, other than we're just going to patiently wait here in line for our turn. It's been fun. We're learning stuff. We're starting to get a little tiny bit of understanding of Bolivia. All right, we're getting closer. Only about 3 cars in front of us. All right, we've made it to the line. We're right behind a tractor, and then we're up next. We are at about 40 minutes at this point. All right, we're up. It's our time. Okay, I just had to give her my passport to get fuel here. I think they're gonna reference my passport number and me as an individual with this fill up. Okay, so we're getting charged a higher rate because we are foreigners, and that's fair. You know, they have very subsidized fuel here by the government, and we don't get that benefit. We'll see what the rate's gonna be. I think it's still gonna be pretty comparable to a lot of the other countries we've been into. So we only need about 1/3 of a tank. We are intentionally not gonna let our tanks get too low. And now this is our main tank. We still have our whole reserve, which is 28 gallons that we filled up in Peru. So just in case we get into a bind where we just absolutely can't find fuel, we don't wanna be caught with a completely empty tank. We wanna be able to go to the next town, get fuel there, and be able to carry on.
Okay, so we just paid $5.14 for a gallon of diesel there, which is about the same that we were paying in Peru and a lot of other countries along the way. So it's pretty comparable.
All right, so we got our first fill up in Bolivia. We're headed southbound, and we're going somewhere really cool. Good morning, Uyuni, Bolivia. We are here at the famous train cemetery. This is a place I've seen many pictures on Instagram and always wondered where this place is and what it's like, and I'm finally here. It's a beautiful, clear, cold morning. There's not even a tiny little breath of wind, and we're the only people here right now. This is a place where there's a bunch of very old, looks like steam locomotives that have been abandoned here, and it's turned into this train cemetery. It is really cool. They're rusted behemoths. People have salvaged parts of them for scrap metal. They're just kind of sitting here in the desert on these just abandoned old tracks. And it's a neat place to camp and a neat place to just look around and see what train travel might have been like back in the day, especially here in Bolivia. Well, the trains are here for you to explore. I'm on top of one right now. I always wondered what it would be like to walk around on top of a train, and I'm fulfilling my destiny. But the bulk of the trains are here. You can walk around, you can climb on them, you can really explore them. And it's pretty amazing that these things brought goods, people, cargo across this vast desert. And somehow they just ended up here. Just yesterday, we did 2 trips to the gas stations. We were successful getting fuel both times. One time, as you saw just a second ago in the video, took us about 45 minutes to get fuel. Then last night when we got here, we thought it would be the same thing, so we didn't bother filming it. Took us 3 hours to get fuel. The attendant said she could sell us fuel for 7 bobs a liter, or if we needed a receipt, it was going to be 8.8 bobs a liter. Now, we don't know exactly what's going on, but we kind of think the lesser price, she is selling it to us officially at the locals price, and then she is pocketing the difference. But we bought it for the non-receipt price, which saved us just a little bit on the fuel. And we don't mind paying the foreigner rate. We are just happy to get fuel. We are topped off on fuel now, and we're going to need it because today is a big day. We are going to one of the most dramatic places on planet Earth. All right, this is our last stop before we go out on the Salar de Uyuni. This is a car wash. Now, you would think you might want to wash your car after being on the Salar de Uyuni, which is the giant salt flats. And yes, we will do that. These car washes are really cool because you drive up onto these risers, and then they could walk underneath and really wash your undercarriage super effectively. We've seen this all throughout Central and South America. And I don't know why we don't have more of these kind of places in the US. One thing for your car to look clean, and it's another thing for the important parts, the mechanical parts, to actually be clean. So this is great. The common practice here is you get your car washed before, and then the last part of the car wash, they spray your whole undercarriage with a mixture of used motor oil and maybe some other substances that kind of coats all of your frame and anything that's exposed in this coat of oil. And it keeps the salt from corroding those parts. That's the oil compound. They spray on everything to help inhibit corrosion and rust. Here is some of my suspension components completely coated in oil. Seems really weird to me. Normally that would be a bright Agile Off-Road logo, and it is super shiny and greased up with motor oil. And then after we get back from the salt flats, we'll come back here and we'll have them rewash the vehicles without the oil, and it will then wash off all the salt with the oil. That will help keep anything from getting corroded from the salt. So after they wash the undercarriage really good with high pressure water, then they spray the oil treatment. Then you drive down off these elevated tracks and they give it a full brushed exterior wash for the outside of the van. So here they're soaping it all up good. They're using brushes, they're using high pressure sprayers, and this is a pretty amazing car wash. Now imagine what this would cost in the US. $100, $200 to do something like this? This is costing us $10 here.
Okay, we're in.
We are in.
All right, we made it to the Salar de Uyuni. We are driving now our first mile onto the salt flats, and we are gonna explore this place and check it out, and you're coming along. We've stopped for a minute out here on the Salar. This is incredible. You should see these hexagon shapes that the salt just, I guess, naturally makes. Look at this. As far as I can see, there's just two vans and a bunch of salt. We've been driving out here for a little while now, and there is no sense of scale. It is literally like if you've ever been in a blizzard whiteout and you just can't tell any sense of the space around you. It is like that out here. You can't tell until something is very close and it comes at you really fast. But it just seems like you're just floating in this vastness. All right, here's one of the famous salt hotels. All the walls, all the furniture, almost everything in here is made out of salt. Here's a bedroom in the Salt Hotel. The bed is literally a block of salt. Look at the bed frame. This is salt. A nightstand made of salt. A window has glass. But other than that, it's all salt. You do have a 100-watt light bulb. What a place. This whole hotel is built out of salt. Everything from the tables to the bed frames to the walls. And the only one thing I think that maybe is holding this place together other than salt is stickers. There's stickers everywhere. So the famous Dakar rally came through here in 2016, and there's monuments to that. If you don't know, the Dakar is one of the greatest off-road races in the world. It used to be the Paris to Dakar. It was always that, and that I think is the most epic course. But they did do a year here in Bolivia, maybe a few, I really don't know, but the course did come right through here, and so there's a couple of monuments to the Dakar. Kathy found a place to sit. She's got her brand new walking boot, which is a cast for her injured ankle. Hopefully that's going to help her heal a little faster.
Okay, I'm on cruise control.
Okay, we've had a wonderful morning driving around on the Salar, and we're over here at Fish Island, which is a beautiful island. It's covered in these giant cactuses. They almost look like saguaros, except they've got a lot more spikes on them. They're almost fuzzy looking. Now, it is extremely sunny, and I mean, there is not a cloud in the sky really above us. And the Salar is an amazing reflector. It is just reflecting back so much light. I've got on the big sun hat, the sunglasses. I switched on to my sun hoodie. And it's funny, it feels very comfortable temperature-wise here in the shade. But the sun is so intense that it does feel pretty warm in the sun. Hopefully I'm not going to get burned to a crisp walking around out here. But I'm going to get out of the van a little bit. We've been driving around all morning exploring, and it truly is magnificent. But I want to see it a little bit by foot. Now, the Salar has quite a reputation for a place where vehicles can get extremely stuck. And I mean well-prepared vehicles get out here and get buried to the axles. And sometimes people are stuck out here for days or even a week or more. That typically happens as you get close to these islands, because the salt on the edges of the islands gets very thin, and where I'm walking right now is a great example of that. The salt is only an inch or two thick here, and it's actually kind of in some places curling up in big plates. So the salt works like a crust, and it holds moisture in the dirt that's underneath. And if you break through that crust, especially in a heavy vehicle like our Sprinter vans, you can actually sink quite deep into that mud, and the mud is bottomless. When you try to jack your vehicle up or put max tracks under it, it's like everything just sinks. So you end up digging and winching and doing whatever you can to try to get a vehicle out of here, and it can take days. So even though the surface of the Salar looks kind of uniform, as you get close to the edge of these islands, it can really surprise you with how soft it gets and how quickly you can get in a really bad situation. So the rock on these islands is a petrified coral. It's really sharp to the touch, and it even makes some really cool formations with big arches and amphitheaters and all kinds of cool things to check out. So it's fun to maybe explore the islands a little bit. This has got to be one of the quietest places I've ever been. And I'm not seeing any birds. I'm not seeing any mammals. I'm not seeing any planes. Occasionally there will be a land cruiser that comes by, but even over here by Fish Island, I've yet to see a single other human. The only thing I'm hearing is the occasional fly flying by. And it makes me think this has got to be one of the most inhospitable places for anything to live, other than maybe these cactuses and these really hardy plants that are on the islands. But out on the salt, nothing can live there. It's too sunny, it's too salty, it's too dry. Then in the wet season, it's too wet. From what I've seen in pictures, in the wet season, there'll be an inch or so of water covering this whole salt plain. It makes the world's largest mirror. When you see it with clouds in the sky, you almost can't tell where the clouds end and where the reflection starts. It just all is one big sky. Now, I would love to see that someday. We're here in the dry season, and that is good for us being able to drive out here and explore and not worry about getting stuck or getting a lot of corrosion on our vehicle from driving through very salty water. But I hope to come back here someday and see it as the world's largest mirror. This is pretty interesting. I've discovered a little pool of water. Now that's probably a great example. Turquoisey blue. It has salt crystals floating in it, and it is just sitting on top of crust. And boy, you pop through the crust, I bet you could get stuck really good, really fast. Just got a message from some Instagram friends, some fellow travelers from the United States, Overland for Good. These guys are awesome. If you don't follow them on Instagram, you should, because they're just kicking butt on Instagram right now with cool imagery and stories from their trip. We just got a message. They're on the salt flats here too. Now this is a massive place, so they could be anywhere and we would never know it. But they just messaged us that they got their truck stuck and they're having a hard time getting out, so maybe we can go and help them. All right, so I just got off of a WhatsApp call with Scott from Overland for Good. He sounded a little frazzled, which I'm sure he is. He's out here in the middle of literally nowhere, and I told him that we're gonna drop everything and come and help him. When he sent me the coordinates to find out where he was and where we were going to, he is almost as far across the Solar as possible. This is a massive area. So there was no way we could get there before dark. He said that they were fine to camp there in their truck and being stuck, that it would be a little crooked, but it was no problem to camp there. And I told him that we would come in first thing in the morning. So we are gonna stay camped where we are right now. First light tomorrow, we'll start blazing across the Solar, and we have GPS coordinates to find them. And we're gonna go and hopefully we can track them down and give them a hand. It's going to be an interesting night tonight as we're dreaming about ways to unstick a tundra from a salt flat. It has been an amazing day out here on the Solar. This place has lived up to everything I thought it would be. And we just had the most magnificent sunset. What a great way to end an amazing day in Bolivia. All right, so tomorrow, first thing, we're gonna get up and go and try to find Overland for Good and see if we can get them unstuck. I wanna thank you guys for watching this video. Please hit the like and subscribe button down below. It really does help our channel grow. And from the Solar, the Bolivian salt flats, I hope I see you somewhere over the horizon. Take care, guys. We're gonna have an awesome evening here. I hope you are as well. See you next time. But the reality is, this is where we are. All I want right now is to get off this Salar. It's gonna make one hell of a story, isn't it, YouTube? You guys love this stuff. This is the real deal. This is overlanding in South America, and right now we all need help.